and welcome to the Don't Judge, Just Love podcast. I'm Chase Willardson.
And I'm Shannon Willardson.
Do you think we need to keep introducing our names?
I don't know. Maybe.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all the things.
With no judgment.
Only love.
That's
Only love.
right.
That's right. So we were off for 2 weeks.
I'm sure y'all noticed because of how highly listened to our podcast is. Sorry, we like to make fun of ourselves a lot on here if you haven't noticed.
But we were off on a work trip that I had, and Shannon was able to come with us, or with me, and it was awesome. And that's actually what we're going to talk about today for our podcast topic is we're going to talk a little bit about Europe.
We're going to talk about travel. We're going to talk about Europe specifically because the last time that Chase and I were in the EU was...
Look at you, EU. Wow.
I'm just a really seasoned traveler. What can I say?
Oh my gosh.
But for realsies, it was 2019. So it was about 4 years ago. And listen, I don't want to be obtuse in saying that. We realize that it is a blessing that we have gotten to go out of the country at all, right? So I don't want to, sound like
we'd actually saved for a couple of years to be able to go on that trip in Europe.
Our first one, you mean?
Well, that one, and then we'd saved again for the trip in 2019 because remember in 2019 we...
Oh, for the 2019
because, we paid out of our pocket for that one. I think the other one, it was a collaboration to go to Europe.
So we'll get into that, but like what our travels have been. Anyway, point being, we're super grateful that we've gotten to do some traveling, but it had been a while. That's the point.
Also, it was a CDG conference. That was why we were there last time too.
Yeah, right. Anyway, it had been long enough that when we were there, Chase and I had multiple moments of kind of looking at each other and being like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Now I remember.
Yeah, and kind of being like, oh yeah, I forgot. Europe was like that. So much so that we thought it would be kind of funny to just like talk about what those things were. So this episode is really for all of our travel lovers out there. If you've ever been to Europe, hopefully you'll hear this list and it'll give you a little chuckle. If you've never been to Europe, but you know that like it's on your list or traveling is just a thing in your heart, like I personally, I freaking love to travel. And it's something that I could just listen to and hear about. I love hearing about other people's travels, where they want to go, where they've been, all the nuances of the places they've been. I could listen to that all day, every day. Every day. Anyway.
I think in a couple different lives, Shannon was a like nurse practitioner or like a geneticist.
Did you say in another life?
Yeah. Like if you were able to have like another
I was
career
like, I don't
or life.
remember when.
And then I think there's another version that Shannon thinks about of like being some sort of I don't know if it's like a tour guide or like, I don't know, a professional traveler. Would that be what it'd be?
Like it would be like a host on a travel show on like the Travel Network. Or it'd be like our friends, the Bucket List family.
Yeah.
Where we would just
travel.
That's all we would do.
And
just travel.
Yeah.
And our family situation is just not super conducive to that, nor is the fact that I am like the most extra person that has ever lived. So the Bucket List family, we love you. We admire you so much. We wish we were you. We're very aware that we're not. So that's too bad. But it's true. I love to travel so much. Chase loves it too.
That's true.
But yeah, we thought it'd be fun to talk about this list. So to start us off though, Chase, tell us where you have traveled to. Give us kind of like the rundown. And we're talking international travel. Not to minimize travel in the U.S. because I secretly I want to go to every
there's some states that I have not been to that I would love to visit.
Oh yeah, I want to go to every state in the U.S. That is on my list. That's on my bucket list. The U.S. is so cool to travel. Lots of variety. But we're talking international travel on this episode. So where have you been?
So I have been to Mexico. I've been to...
Not impressed yet. Keep going. Just kidding.
Does it count if you were like on a cruise and you got off somewhere?
Yeah. Sure. Sure. No. Does it? I don't know.
The Bahamas, Jamaica,
I
Cayman
literally
Islands.
did not list any of those.
Is Cayman Islands, is that like a U.S. owned?
No.
No, it's not. That's
US
not.
owned? What?
No. No. There are.
No, I know. You said.
Yeah. No. That maybe that sounded bad. I didn't mean it like that.
No, it's British.
British. Okay. And then.
Are you listening to our tour guide?
Yes. Absolutely. Italy.
But tell us, give us kind of.
Okay, so the Amalfi Coast, that was probably one of my favorite places that we ever, and that's in Italy. And that was so beautiful. And Shannon and I ate 2 meals a day, but it was because we ate lunch and dinner, and both of those consisted of pizza, and they were absolutely amazing.
And gelato.
And gelato.
It was just
a bunch of gelato. So it was pizza and gelato.
2
and
meals?
We were like, we're just going to eat 2 meals.
What?
We did. We only ate lunch and dinner. I mean, we had a bunch of gelato in between, but
I feel like we ate 3 meals, and it was pizza, gelato, pizza, gelato, pizza, gelato.
No, for
Yeah.
breakfast we didn't have pizza.
I don't know.
So that's one of my favorite places. We went to France. We were in Provence in France.
I think you're forgetting a huge one. Where's the first place you went out of the country?
Like London, England?
No. Your mission, bro?
Oh, Madrid, Spain.
Oh
I was
my gosh.
I was thinking of travel.
Sure.
It was no. I lived in Madrid or in Spain or thereabouts around Madrid for about 2 years, and I was a missionary for our church, and so I knew a little bit of Spanish before. I knew about I don't know, your first. I felt like what I did 2 years in high school of Spanish, and I felt like in the first 2 weeks there's a missionary training center where you go to kind of learn more about the language and learn the different words and how to talk to people about religion.
So
And I was there for 9 weeks, 3 weeks in Provo, Utah, and then was there for 6 weeks in Madrid, Spain. They have a missionary training center there. And
side note, the MTC after our missions, because I did one of these too, but it was in Pennsylvania. I guess that's not where we met technically, but we both worked there afterward. So first we attended there being taught, then we worked there teaching
other missionaries.
And, it was like one of the breeding grounds for our love, I would say.
But I loved Spain. I love the people there. They're so awesome and so kind and just amazing people. And I love the way that they speak Spanish. Like when I hear someone...
Please demonstrate.
I love just the use of the theta, so corazón versus corazón.
No one knows we don't know what a theta is.
The theta is so it's CICE or a Z in Spanish.
Instead of an S sound, right?
And so usually, it's like an S sound.
No, it's instead of an S sound. Isn't it basically you're talking with a lisp? Isn't it?
So there was a king in I think it was in the 1200s or something. And he had a lisp.
Wait, is this for real?
Yeah.
This is the origin of it?
Yes.
I did not know that.
And so this king had a lisp.
It is a lisp. That's legit what it is.
That is, I think, where it originated from.
Oh
and
my
so
gosh, that's hilarious.
People, to seem like royalty, they tried to mimic the way that the king was speaking.
So, okay, say something.
I just said corazón.
That's one word.
Versus
Give us
corazón.
a full sentence.
Civilización. That would be civilization in Spanish.
Sentence.
A sentence.
Say, I can't wait for my Chick-fil-A to get here. Wait, does that have S's in it? I can't wait to have Chick-fil-A.
Estamos muy animados para recibir nuestro Chick-fil-A. Wow. Va a ser muy bueno.
Were you using the theta then?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I just was saying something in Spanish. It's like hard to think, like.
But is that how you would have said it in Madrid on your mission? Like that?
Yeah.
Oh, so when does the theta? Because I didn't hear a lisp in that.
What?
I didn't hear a lisp.
I know, because there weren't like a C or a CI or a CE.
Okay,
you only do it. You don't like talk with a lisp all the time. It was just in those instances.
Speaking of which, I think our Chick-fil-A just got here.
But that's where I gave the example of civilización. Civilización is civilization.
I don't hear a lisp in that.
I know, and that's just how you would say it in Spanish without the lisp. No, and then civilización. And that was like not the best example because I've been removed from Spain for multiple years. Wow. But thank you, Shannon, for giving us a little bit of a Spanish lesson. But no, so I lived in Spain.
This really took
loved
a boring tangent.
We also love. I loved with Shannon going to London. That's probably our favorite place.
Our favorite place.
To travel to. It is just like the
I
history.
Want to believe so badly that we have any international listeners of our podcast. I really doubt we do. But if
you want to be friends and you want us to visit you in London,
you happen to live in the EU or in the Great Brits. We love you and we want to be friends with you. Okay. Yeah, we do. We love London so
Sorry,
much.
That was like a super long tangent and I took way too long. No, now let's hear your places.
I really enjoyed that. Okay. So my very first time overseas, I'll say, which means, because I can't remember. I am not counting any like cruise things, because I will say this, and I wish that we could actually like, this could be more of a dialogue on the podcast. I struggle with that aspect of it. But yeah, I feel like there is a difference, and I want to know who agrees. I feel like there's a difference between travel and vacation.
That's a good point.
I do feel like that. Like, to me, travel is like, this isn't my goal here isn't necessarily to like relax and chill. My goal is to like see things and be somewhere that I find super fascinating and interesting that I've never, well, maybe you have been, it doesn't matter. But I just like, I want to experience the place and like see the things. And like, whereas I feel like a vacation is more like I'm on a beach, I'm chilling, I'm like, you know, like different purposes in my mind. And not to say that you can't see things on a vacation, like more of a vacation destination, but they're kind of different in my mind. Anyway, so my first time, my points.
This is, you can tell, we're getting back into the swing of it.
We're so good at this.
This is a very good,
we're so good at
fun,
this.
Live episode.
Oh my gosh. No, my point in saying that was I am not including really those types of places so much, like cruise destinations and crap like that.
We want to take a second and talk about Family Made, the network. It's the network that makes this podcast and so many others happen.
Yes, I'm sure y'all have heard of Shawn Johnson, the incredible former Olympic gold medalist, someone I have admired for many years, by the way, and her husband, Andrew East. But what you may not know about them is that they actually started Family Made as a way to get you excited about family life and connect you with resources that support you along your journey.
And if you're loving our show, which we hope you are, you need to check out the other shows Family Made Media has on their website. There's shows that touch on just about everything a relationship or family could go through, so you'll find shows that you can relate to.
For sure. I could not agree more, Chase. Head over to familymade.com to check out the list. There's shows about literally everything, y'all. Adoption, raising large families, marriage struggles, addiction, special needs, hot topics, family values, inspiring stories, and so much more.
There really is something for everyone, so go check out familymade.com to learn more. It's such a good resource no matter what season of family life you're in.
My first time overseas was a study abroad in London.
That would have been fun.
I genuinely don't feel like I am exaggerating when I say it like kind of changed my life. And my cute mom, like I can't even talk about this without mentioning this part, because my mom got married at 19. She was 19 years old. And my whole life growing up, what I remember my mom saying, well, okay, so she got married at 19 and then she just started having babies. Mm-hmm. There's 7 kids in my family. And my
There's 7? Just kidding.
Surprise. Wow. Can't believe you didn't know that, Chase. You knew that. Anyway, they just started cranking out babies. And so while my mom wouldn't have it any other way, and she was always she always stressed that fact, I do feel like she kind of had these dichotomous, almost conflicting feelings, because on the other hand, she would always say, I had to marry your dad because I loved him and I knew he was the one for me. I just wish I could have met him like 4 years later than I did. She would always say that because there was just a lot of things that she didn't get the chance to do in that season of her life because she got married so young and started having kids. So she was very, like a huge proponent growing up of her kids really like getting out there and living life and doing things. That being said, we didn't grow up with money. Like we just didn't have a lot of extra or any extra money. I mean, you can imagine 7 kids. It just wasn't there. And so we didn't have the opportunity to do much of that or any of that as a family, and even like trying to do that individually after we moved out. It's hard because it's expensive, Anyway, all of that to say, my mom was like determined to help me go on a study abroad. I swear she wanted it as much as I did. And it was like the most tender thing to me. I don't know if I've ever even like really point blank told her this. So Mom, I hope you're listening to this podcast. But like that meant so much to me. It was like such a tender thing to me that she like really wanted that for me. And she helped me. Like we came up with the money. And so that I could go on this study abroad, and it was to London, and it was so amazing. We traveled all over Europe. We lived in a flat right across the street from Kensington Park. I'm sorry, we traveled all over England is what I meant to say. And then at the end of our study abroad, we went to Paris. I had never been to Paris. I remember people saying, Paris is overrated. I did not think it was overrated. It was not overrated at all, in my opinion. It was like...
Was it just like... It was like, not overwhelmed, not underwhelmed, like whelmed, or were you overwhelmed?
Oh, I was overwhelmed completely. Like for me, and that's what I mean. I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like true travel lovers, like that's how they feel about it, because like something about seeing all these things that I'd only ever seen in books or, like in pictures, it just like blew my mind. And then also just how different it is from the United States. It's so old compared to everything here. Like anytime we go to Europe, I'm reminded of like what a little toddler country we are, I mean, we are like, we're so young compared to these other overseas countries. And so like the architecture is so different from here. And
history, the culture, it's just like, it's just so rich.
There's so much to take in, and it's all so fascinating to me. Anyway, and then at the end of that trip, a couple of friends of mine, we found this super cheap cruise, which was so cool. That's one thing. Like once you're in Europe, traveling around within it is so much cheaper and easier once you're over there, which is like one of the coolest aspects of being there, I think. So anyway, so we find this super cheap cruise that was like on the Italian coast, and we went to Rome, Florence, Cinque Terre, Naples, kind of the coast there, and then like the south of France, like the Monaco area. And I was bit. Like that was the beginning of this like just absolute craving for travel. I just loved it. Then the next time I went overseas was to pick up my brother from his mission. My brother served his mission in Romania.
Chafach.
What?
I mean, I think that means like hi.
Oh, nice. Brother, are you listening to this? Probably not. But if you are, correct Chase later on his Romania. But this is interesting. He and I got released on the same day from our missions. And so he stayed over there. My my parents and my sister went to pick him up. I came home from my mission and then like flew over to meet them. And that was where I saw them for this first time in 18 months, was over in Romania. Like they met me at the airport there. And that was just another life-changing experience. We did Romania, we did Austria, we did Prague. So cool. The next time I went was when you and I were newlyweds, and I went to the Philippines. Do you remember that?
Oh my gosh, yes. And you went with your sister Alicia.
So I worked for a nonprofit. Is this boring, guys? This might be getting boring.
I think it's...
This wasn't really meant to be a travel log.
Yeah.
But here we are. Anyway, just stop listening if you need
Thanks
to. It's fine.
Thanks for tuning in still.
So I worked for this really, really cool nonprofit. It's called Mentors International. I think they're still up and running. But it was a microfinance nonprofit. And we had clients in the Philippines. Clients were small business owners in impoverished countries who we were giving micro loans to, like these really, really small loans, so that they could run their businesses.
Super cool concept.
Such a cool concept. And we had the opportunity to take some of our donors to actually meet and see these families and these businesses that they were contributing to. So it was so cool. And that was my first time in that part of the country. And I've never been back since. But we have so many destinations on our list, our travel wish list in that area. But that was and my sister went with me because Chase couldn't go because he had to work. We didn't have any kids yet or anything like that, but he had to work. So I got to bring my sister along, and it was quite the experience. Cool. And then the next time was when you and I went. Why did we go there? Why did we go to London and Paris? Oh, it was that brand trip.
Yeah.
We went to Provence with L'Occitane was the brand. And
such a beautiful city.
Oh my gosh.
We took some pictures. It was like in this what was like a bug? Like a Volkswagen bug
in a sunflower field.
In a sunflower field. Some of the most beautiful pictures we've ever taken.
Yeah, and then we went and did the lily
and we've
fields.
taken a couple pictures.
Yeah,
just a couple.
Taken a couple pictures in our day. We did a hot air balloon. I feel like, I don't know. Is this just a brag fest? That was a really cool trip.
That was a really cool trip.
And that was the first trip. So we tacked some travel onto that trip. We flew in early so that we could go to London. I really wanted to go to London with Chase. Had you been to London, or was that your first time?
That was my first time.
Yeah. So that was my first time back since my study abroad. And it was so fun getting to go with Chase to London. And I was so pleased because literally by the end, and we were only there like 3 or 4 days, maybe something like that. Not very long. But Chase was literally like looking up real estate in London. Like, how can we live here? Like, even just for a little bit, like, how could we live for a year or two in London? And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. Like, look it up, like that became a secret little dream of ours because we just loved London. Love it. And then we went to Paris, and was that your first time? No, that wasn't your first time to Paris, was it? Okay. Yeah.
I had never been to Europe before.
Well, Madrid is in Europe.
Outside of being a missionary, but it wasn't like I was like vacationing or traveling around.
It is very different. Like when you're on your mission, I mean, you have
1 day a week. You are
there for a purpose.
Yeah, and 1 day a week where you did your laundry, your grocery shopping, and like you could do a little bit of sightseeing, but like everything was within, a certain time period because you need to be back that night for the next day. Yeah,
exactly. So it's different. That's true. Anyway, so we went to Paris, and then we did that Provence trip. And then the next time was the 2019 trip. We planned a trip around a conference.
CDG conference.
Yeah, a CDG conference. CDG is the rare disease that our daughters have. And every year they have a conference for, a CDG conference. And it alternates whether it's in the United States. When it's in the U.S., it's usually in San Diego. And when it's overseas, it's usually in Portugal. And we had never been to the overseas location. And they actually asked if I would speak at that conference. Mm-hmm. So we felt like, oh, yes, we have a an excuse to like, rally and save up and go. So that was really cool. And we tacked some travel onto that too. We flew into London. We kind of made this agreement like, okay, every time we go to Europe, we're going to try to go to London, like spend a couple days in London. We didn't get to do that on this most recent trip, but we did with the 2019 trip. So we flew into London, spent a couple days there. Then we went to the Amalfi Coast. Mm-hmm. So like Positano, Amalfi. There's another one. The name is escaping me, and literally just like all the pictures.
So beautiful.
Don't even do it justice. It's just like the most ridiculous place in the world. It is so beautiful. So that was amazing. And then we went to Rome, and your mom
met us in Rome.
Met up with us in Rome. Stacy Chase's mom is one of our favorite travel buddies. She met up with us in Rome, and we did all of the touristy Rome stuff. And then we went to Portugal, to Lisbon, to the CDG conference. And we'd never been to Portugal. Portugal was super cool. We tried to see as much as we could while we were there.
We didn't see a ton in Portugal because we were mainly there for the conference. I think we got there like the night before.
Yeah.
And so, but it was a beautiful place. Food was really good.
But we stayed but I feel like we saw enough to like feel like I've been to Portugal, and it was awesome. Like we did that tour of that castle. We stayed in really cool hotels that were in like good locations where it was easy to kind of like walk around the city and stuff like that. I loved Portugal. I loved Lisbon. It was really cool. Anyway, and then we hadn't been back because, a lot of things, kids and COVID. And, just everything. So it was really, really cool to get to go on this trip. And I don't even know if we mentioned where we went. So this trip we went to Switzerland and Milan, Italy. And where were we in Switzerland?
Montreux.
It's called Montreux. Tell us about Montreux, Chase.
It's beautiful. It's just right there you have Lake Geneva, and and then Switzerland, borders 4 different countries. But like France is right there, and so we went to Gruyere, where they make just some amazing cheese, and we had some cheese fondue.
Oh my gosh!
And then I think also
cheese.
And then Cahiers,
yeah,
is like the chocolate factory, where they make chocolate.
Okay, and this is a good segue into things about Europe that we forgot, because some of those are on my list. But also, this is already 30 minutes long, this episode. Should we make our list a separate episode? Do you like how we're discussing this and figuring out?
Is this part one?
Yeah, this might be part one, because let's be honest, I think maybe everyone already stopped listening. But yeah, let's do a part 2, and we'll share the things about the EU that we forgot. But I guess the point of this episode was to reminisce and to say the world is beautiful. The world is a beautiful place. And for all of our travel bugs out there, we feel you, man. Because I will say, like, that trip that we just took, I feel like it kind of reignited the passion. And now I'm like, okay.
You could definitely see it and hear it in her voice. How excited
we came off that trip, and I was like, Chase, we need to take an international trip every summer. Like, we'll save, we'll work really hard, we'll find a way. I want to go on an international trip out of the country every summer. Another part, maybe this will be like part 3, is we thought it might be valuable to share how we do that with our family, like how we make that work. Because that is a question we get a lot of when we do these big trips, which again, we haven't done one for a long time. But even when we did the 2019 trip, all of our kids were born. Ava was a year old. Mm-hmm. So we have found ways to make it work. And in case it can be helpful to anyone, we thought we'd share how we do that, how we make it work. Because the bottom line is, again, we don't want to sound like freaking douchebags in this episode and be obtuse about the fact that, like, yeah, there are a lot of like limiting factors to being able to travel internationally.
True.
It's expensive. If you have kids, that's a lot.
Finding childcare.
That's a lot.
That's
to
probably
coordinate.
The biggest thing.
Yeah. So we're not oblivious to that, and we're not immune to any of that. Like we have those same, factors. But we just kind of, we try to make it happen regardless, and to just find a way. So anyway, we'll share more about that too. Part 2 coming soon. If you made it to the end of this, you're a real one, and we love you so much. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.